Welcome in to This Week in Challengers. That's right, it's a super special episode because we're doing it live, baby. This is one of 2 years that Andy and I get to be, or 2 times in a year that Andy and I get to be in the same room at the same time. And when you run an online podcast about Challengers right before a Challengers event, why not?
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's not just a Challengers event either, right?
There's a lot more.
It's the biggest event of the year. Can't wait for everything, but of course, a lot to break down, how everything's going to work, whether we think certain teams are going to get through. Going to be a great episode.
Yeah, so we're going to cover all the groups of the Pro-Am, kind of go through what the path for each Challengers team might look like in their group in the Pro-Am now that we finally have that settled on out. And then we've actually gained some clarity, because if you watched last week's episode, we kind of were guessing how stuff was going to work with the teams that got bounced out of the Pro-Am. It actually, we'll probably cover the pseudo-drama that ensued, but it was obviously a positive at the end of the day, because now we have a definitive answer of how that works. So let's dive into it. Let's start with the groups here. I got them on my phone. By the way, this is going to be like a little scuffed, obviously, because we're just doing this live with literally a camera and some microphones. So bear with us, and we're not going to have the fun graphics and stuff that we normally have, but I think that's worth it because we're live. Let's start with Group A, because this feels maybe slightly one of the more straightforward ones, right? So quick refresher, if you don't know how this is working, by the way, first day is what's called GSL format. Is essentially a mini bracket that then leads to 2 teams making it out of each group into the main bracket. Okay, we've actually talked about this twice already, so please, if you need an explainer, go watch those. But the first match, and I think this is the first match of the day on mainstream as well, is going to be Optic Texas versus Omit Noir. There's no easy way to say this.
They're not going to do well.
They're not going to do well.
That's going to be one-sided, that one. And I feel for Omit, because the team that they've got is this incredible investment into like young projects. It's obviously DK, Ethan. Going to be a lot of fun to see how they do. And to be fair, with teams like this, it's a case of coming out, you're playing against arguably the best team in the world. It's a case of learn whatever you can from it, take whatever you can from it, and get settled into that LAN environment. Yeah. Because if you can lift your floor off the back of that game, and we see this sometimes, you play against a really good team, you don't really meet their standard, but it helps you look better in the next games, that might be the best thing you can really take from that matchup. Yeah,
I think this is an opportunity for, like you said, for a lot of those players to maybe just kind of like, this is one of those like make a name for yourself, just because you know there's going to be a lot of eyes on it. It's the first match of the Pro-Am, like like you said, you may and it's Optic, like you may going into that realizing like, hey, you're probably a little outclassed, but I think your opportunity to just like put on some performances, right? You pop a nasty 2 or 3 piece. These are the type of things that we know that some orgs might be looking at, right? So even though, this could very easily come out, be a 3-0 and, be quick, done, and dusted, you have an opportunity here if you are Omit Noir, I think, to, like I said, put a little bit more respect in your name. Because like you said, it's a lot of young up-and-comers anyway.
It is. So it's invaluable experience as well for those young players. Like DK, obviously, this has been his breakout year. Everyone's been saying, how good can this guy get? Well, here's an opportunity for him to kind of learn a few things that he's not going to get to do otherwise in the European space. And obviously as well then Ethan, it's a case of, all right, well, where do you go? You're both on this same path where you're going to rise to the very top of Europe, be a big part of the conversations going forward. Chance to maybe do something there.
So
don't see them winning it though.
I don't see them winning it. I mean, it'd be sick to see them win a map, maybe a Search. Maybe a Search. Maybe a Search. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'm huffing copium. I don't know. But the other match in that group is going to be G2 Surge. So Omit would then play the loser of that G2 Surge roster yet again. Do I think they have a better chance against either G2 or Surge? Yes. Yeah. Do I think that they still do it? Unfortunately, not. I can see it being a closer series, though.
Yeah, I think, you get the worst group if you are the lowest seed. The way it worked essentially was you were seeded based on your pro points if you were the challenger teams, and, well, there's not many on this roster. So, yeah, the 16 seeds, they get Texas, they get then the better pro teams in the middle. I will say, Surge, I'd like to see, I think that match would be interesting. Yeah. I'm expecting Minnesota to beat Surge, so Omit would then play Surge. If they were to get through Surge, they would then play the loser of Optic and Minnesota, likely Minnesota, and see if you can get through that way. But tough group.
Yeah, no, very, very tough group. On to B, because this one's really interesting. This one's got a little bit of spice in Group B. So we kick off on one match is going to be Toronto Koi versus the Huntsman, the Kips Revenge Tour. I don't know how much of a revenge tour it is, but it is fun. Obviously, it's Kips coming from Huntsman, one of the few to make it into the league alongside Neum, and now he's playing his old team. which is what, just Renegade.
Yeah, I think it's just Renegade as the survivor. But yeah, it'd be a nice little moment for him. And as well, of course, any sort of Renegade Kips things will be very fun. But I don't know. I think I see Koi winning this. The problem with Koi for me is, while their ceiling is dumb high, every now and again they do have a series where they're a little bit slow out the blocks. This Huntsman team, especially for how good Renegade's been looking, I don't know, man. I think they steal away like map one and like make this a more interesting series. I still think Koi come out on top in the long run, but I think this is going to be a pretty solid one to kick off Group B.
I think, and something that we kind of talked about last week too, was that with this Huntsman roster, it's a lot of vets and Swooty, basically.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. There's something about, I've been watching like the videos and the content that Swooty's been coming out with. I think he's coming into this with the right mindset. Like, he's very, I mean, obviously, listen, there's going to be nerves no matter who you are playing on the big stage.
Yeah.
But like, being able to, I think, have that confidence and be surrounded by his team and understand it, like, I don't know. I kind of see, like, this is kind of the fun part of this, because I can see like Swooty makes one of those plays that you're like, this is not how Call of Duty is played, but like that's the fun part.
Yeah.
Like, coming from challenges, you're like, why is this guy challenging this? And all of a sudden he's gonna like pop a 2-piece to break a hill, and all of a sudden it's like,
you get excited.
Exactly.
You never know.
Yeah, I'd be curious, but I think if you are a Huntsman fan, why you should maybe still have some faith, because the other side of that group is Ravens versus Heretics.
Yeah.
Which could, honestly, I'm going to put it a little bit more in the favor of Heretics, but I don't think it's by like anything crazy.
I think the only thing is, Carolina haven't done anything on LAN.
Yeah.
It feels like every time they come to LAN, they shit the bed a bit.
Yeah.
So I think that, for me, is where this series goes different. I think, if anything, Miami often look better on LAN, but they very much so feed off the environment. So, I think I edge Miami there. So Huntsman would face Ravens. I think that's an interesting series.
That's because, very interesting
Ravens
season.
don't look great often on LAN. Now, I'm hopeful for them that that's going to be different, especially for someone like Exceed, who is in that position of trying to prove himself again. But I don't know, man. I think Huntsman pushed that to a game 5.
I mean, in that Huntsman Royal Raven series, if that happens, like, I'm not like super confident that it's super clean, Like, I mean, like, even if it ends up with like a Huntsman like 3-1, like, I don't think that's crazy to necessarily think about. But I think the problem then is then obviously the Huntsmen then either have to rematch Toronto Koi, or they're facing Miami Heretics, and that could be where maybe a little bit of you get a little bit of a sticky situation. But I think for the Huntsmen, at least compared to what we just talked about with Omit, I think there's at least a non-zero chance that they maybe make it out of that group.
Yeah, and you're going to have the Optic fans in the venue behind you. So you never know. We've seen them as well. We saw them all last night. They're all hanging out with the Optic boys and Hex and everyone else. And we had a little chat with them last night. And all looking very, relaxed, settled in.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed.
Yeah. Group C. This is a fun one. This is a very fun group for multiple reasons.
It is.
So we'll start with the first series being LA Thieves versus Project Notorious.
Yeah.
This might be, I'm trying to look at Group D. This might be like the round 1 matchup to watch, I think, in this group stage that is there, because I mean, we've kind of seen, Thieves kind of, I mean, here's my problem, right? Thieves online have kind of been looking very shaky, I think, is
Agreed.
Is thing to say.
Who were the last two that they lost to? It was not good teams.
Not good teams. I honestly would have to look
Yeah, it was like, but it was definitely games that we would have
teams
expected
that they should
to
definitely beat.
And they wobbled coming into this tournament.
Yeah, but the problem is that I look at that LA Thieves team and I'm like, but all of those players historically over the last 3 years all play really, really good on LAN.
Very true.
So it's it's hard to bet against Scrap, Hydra, and Abizi on LAN. And also, you also just like take it like a personality account. Like, those guys hate losing. So the fact that their online stage like wasn't great, and they're coming into this, they're not going to get knocked out by a Challengers team. Like, that's their mindset. They're like, we are not going to not make it through groups because of a Challengers team. So they're going to come out firing. But I will say, if they don't, right, a little flat-footed, this Project Notorious roster, we've said multiple times again, is like the one roster that is basically a CDL team.
Yeah,
it's all ex-CDL players.
Yeah, it's a really strong lineup. I think they've gotten unlucky. I think they've gotten really unlucky of Notorious. I think if you draw them in most other groups, like when you look at the second best team, the second pro team really in each group, for Group A it's Minnesota, for Group B you throw a toss-up probably Heretics, for Group C it's the Falcons. I have Notorious pushing all of those teams really close.
Yeah.
I think the unlucky thing for them here is, let's say they lose to Thieves, Paris then play Boston, which is going to be really fun because Paris fan, Boston fan, one of three. But then it's a case of, well, Notorious what? Paris have looked shaky coming into this event as well. So
Boston's kind of heating up like a little bit. Like I think that's what has me worried.
Let's go with no surprises here.
Yeah.
That would it be Boston against Notorious. Snoopy
Revenge Tour, baby.
Yeah, so I fancy Notorious in that series if that's the way it plays out.
I do too, man. I think just looking at how Boston, listen, I'm a Boston fan, but I'm also a Call of Duty analyst at the end of the day. So it's like, you got to be a little realistic. But I just think like that Project Notorious roster, like when I think about those two teams, like, wow, that's actually like a really good like matchup that's there. I think to me, that series is going to come down a little bit to the S&D. I think is going to be, the big key difference maker.
If Notorious are managing to get like a 7.5 diffuse or not, well, that's always a fun one. The problem is for Notorious is, let's say you beat Boston, the squad that you then walk up against, it's either Thieves or Paris.
Which maybe, if let's say if that first LA Thieves series is close, let's say, Paris is able to beat, LA Thieves, which I don't think is crazy to say. Like, if you get that rematch again, that's where I think it gets scary, because that's like you have like that first series is a download game. Yeah. Project Notorious not going to be able to come back on into it. In Project Notorious, they're one of the few challengers teams that like does have like solid analysts and coaches behind them. These are all pro players, so they've been in this situation before. So it's like they might be able to come into that series again and be like, hey, let's fix some mistakes. Let's do something different. I'm with you though. Like if Thieves obviously win against Mates, it's Mates versus Notorious. Unfortunately, I do see Gentlemates.
They're just lucky because as well, like both Thieves and Mates are similar in the regard of like if they lose, they come out swinging afterwards. So, don't get me wrong. Again, both have looked shaky coming into this event. There could be a world in which Notorious really upset this group. I think they've just been so unfortunate with the draw.
Well, that's unfortunately what you get for being good.
Well, also for being a challengers team.
For being
if you don't want to be in that situation.
Well, because theirs is from winning Major 2, right? So it's don't win Major 2, I guess.
Yeah, well,
coming into this, because they could have done it. They could have. Well, yeah, if they had not won Major 2.
I'm trying to think who's sandbagging their pro points. I guess technically not. They get the second best group theoretically. It's just because Thieves and Mates through in those last two series that they get this group. Because otherwise they probably end up with like Ravens Heretics instead.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Or like Ravens and Koi.
Yeah, that's tough. That Group C is I definitely think like maybe the most competitive. I think looking at it for sure. And then let's talk about Group D.
This group, I'm going to put it out that I can actually see Rock getting out of this.
I can. First matchup, FaZe versus Rock.
I don't think
it's as clean as people maybe think it is.
No, because we've cast over them, right? And they don't play COD in a traditional way.
Yes.
They hunt like a pack at all times. They're incredibly high pace. It's taken them a minute to adapt to the NPC meta, but they have gotten to the point where they've adapted into that NPC meta now. And when they are playing as a four together, it's relentless.
Yeah.
Now, FaZe are obviously brilliant, but if they come out cold at all in that series, especially the respawns,
which we've seen them do.
Which we have seen them do. Like, there's a couple of players on that roster that every now and again they have a floor game, and it's ugly. Like, overall, Draza, they do every now and again have a couple of games where it's like, this isn't pretty. Rock will seize on that.
Yeah, I think to me, I'm really curious what like the map set I think is going to look on that one, because I think if it is more of these high pace maps, I think Rock has a really strong advantage today. Like if we get like a Coliseum, what's like another good like high pace map that's in there? I'm trying to think like Hardpoint. Maybe you get like a Call of Hardpoint, maybe a smaller search
Plaza
in there as well. Plaza. We usually only see that as like game 5 though. So
true.
But maybe if you maybe that's like your thing. If you're Rock, you say, screw it, like if they're they get second pick, they get S&D pick, like
could throw it in
potentially. That's there. I just think it would be fun to see, like if you can get that map set to go your way if you are Rock, that maybe you can, that's how you're able to do it. But on the other side of that, you have Falcons versus Cloud9, which is whatever. I fully expect Falcons to probably come out on that
win that one, and then Rock Cloud9, Rock win that.
Rock win
Don't
that.
get me wrong, I think Nezra's gross.
Yeah,
but with all due respect to the other fellas, because obviously they're in this situation of you would have been dumb not to take the offer. It's obvious that this is basically a top 8 challenge team.
And it's like, think about back to Major 1 when Rock played, right? Like Rock, I mean, obviously I don't have the bracket in front of me. Like, Rock could have played against all these players in that Major 1 Open, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if Rock played the Stallions. Didn't they play the Stallions?
Yeah, I think they did. Yeah.
Which had Okus and
Hyde. Yeah.
So I mean, you've kind of played these. You're probably looking at this like if Rock, they're probably looking at that being like, this is just basically another Challengers team.
I have Rock taking that without doubt, and then it's Rock and Falcons. Because I'm assuming that FaZe beat Falcons because Celium just isn't getting one over on Simp anytime soon. So then it's, I don't know, man. I think because Falcons are like, upstairs they're shaky. They're very shaky.
Yeah.
And if Rock come out and like lay the sword, also there's a tie into this of where did the Saudi player on, what's he called? Why am I forgetting his Exnid?
Yeah.
Where did Exnid come from? Rock Esports. That's where he like kind of started it all, or like broke through in his career and stuff over in Saudi. So there's a lot of tie in there. There'll be a lot of love for him. At the same time,
It's also just fun. It's Saudi v Saudi, man.
well, at the same time, all these Rock players and all these Saudi players are essentially auditioning for those seats. Now, for Rock, if you come out hot and make the point of like you're paying these superstars and we're just like we're going toe to toe with them, despite the lack of like opportunity to perform inside a setup and practice against these pro teams. I see Rock taking this as long as they don't get robbed in the first map.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the only thing that I'm thinking of is that I could very easily see that being a series where it's like a map 1. I could see somebody like a Pred getting hot, and it's just Pred's just obviously one of those players that if you do not deal with him, he becomes a problem very, very quickly. Yeah. You're getting farmed off spawns, and Rock might not have, if you don't have the experience of how do we break out of that, it's going to be really, really hard, because that's basically your worst case scenario is one of the subs starts getting in your face, they start blendering you, and then you're allowing Celium to get into a power spot.
Yeah, it's one of them for me where it's like, if Rock can play the way that they do, which is annoying and aggressive and just sick, just a chokehold over everything. If they play that way and Falcons start to struggle, even if it's game 3 and they're down 2-0 at this point, Rock, there is an opportunity for that reverse sweep situation purely because we've seen all 4 of these players. There's like the mental side of that team is fragile. Yeah. So it's going to be that's going to be a really fun one.
No, it's going to be. I mean so we can talk about this now because now that it's public. So we are casting group basically the C stream, which isn't only the C. It's majority of the C games, but there's a sprinkling in there as well. I'm going to be very excited to hear from obviously Taylor, Tiff, and Goj on some of those matchups because I think that's going to be super, super fun to watch. Like I said, I mean, I think for Group A, Group B, it's just the opportunity to get out of those groups is going to be slim. Listen, hey, it's never chalked, as a good Major Maniac said. Like you come out, you start playing really hot, still there, but I do think it's Group C, Group D is our most likely candidates to potentially have one of these challenger teams make it to the bracket, which is realistically like all we want. I just want one team to make it to the bracket.
I mean, even if you don't make brackets, but you get like 3rd place and stuff, this is further evidence of a lot of talent in challengers. These, I've said it before, these events should be more consistent through the season. There should be several of them. If we had 5 events in a year, obviously you're probably talking Major 1, you wouldn't have the teams lined up to get through. Yeah. But then it's like you could probably use open results or elite results to seat these tournaments going forward. And I think we're going to see a fantastic example right here of like not only why these teams should get to take part in this, but how much the fan base loves it.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be cool. Now, obviously, that's like all of the groups, and we talked about what happened. So thankfully, if you are any of those challengers teams, and if you don't make it out of the GSL stage on Friday, do not worry, your weekend is not over. So let's talk a little bit about how this open bracket works, because it is different than necessarily the open brackets from Major 1 and Major 2.
Yeah, so to make it clear, and I know that a lot of you guys are going to be very unsure on this as well, don't worry, me and him kind of dissected a lot of the language in the writing of how this works over about 15 voice notes. Yeah. And we think we have it nailed down.
Yeah, I think so. So basically, think about Friday, which is the first day of the open. Bracket, goes on as it normally would, right? Yeah. And you are getting to your top 16 teams, right? Doesn't matter if it's winners or losers. You are just looking for the top 16 teams off of Friday. Yeah.
Originally, so it's keeping you guys up to date with this and what the whole drama was around the space and why it kicked off. Originally, the idea was, so we've got 16 teams, 8 winners, 8 losers. And essentially what they were going to do is the 8 teams and winners were guaranteed through to Saturday. of the 8 teams in losers, they were then waiting to find out who fell out of the Pro-Am. So let's say 4 teams, all 4 Challengers teams don't make it through the Pro-Am. They then fall into the bracket, and the 4 Challengers teams leaving the Pro-Am would replace the 4 lowest pro point teams in losers.
Yep.
So if you were like Rock with well, it wouldn't be Rock, but pick a team with really high pro points that's going to be in the Open. If you were in losers, you were fine. It's one of those teams that like maybe a Shrub, where they've got basically no pro points. They're going to be in losers potentially at that point. They could have been replaced by a falling team from the Pro-Am.
So you basically could have gotten kicked out of the Open with only losing 1 game.
Yeah, which was disappointing. And then what was going to happen is they'd take all 16 teams, move them all back into winners, and reseed the 16 teams as a bracket. So some teams could lose like 3 times before they're out of the tournament, which was not ideal.
Was not ideal.
Thankfully, community feedback was heard. CDL responded really quickly on this, to be fair to them.
Yeah.
And what they're going to do instead is play an extra round of losers. So that would then mean that they do have 4 distinctive losers that are out. Essentially, they have lost twice at that point. But then those 4 teams will wait to find out who falls out of the Pro-Am. And again, it's a case of, all right, well, if you were a lower seeded team and you've lost twice, you'll be replaced by one of those Pro-Am teams.
So basically, so essentially there's the teams that drop down from the Pro-Am. I believe the way they're going to do it is like for those play-in games, essentially is what it is that they'll do it by the seeds. Yeah. So that's there. And so so exactly. So like, let's say if you are, let's say, if only 3 of the teams come on down, the highest seeded lower bracket team would essentially get their move on through. So that means then when we go into Saturday, you can almost think about it as like the entire bracket kind of resets Saturday, right? And does everybody still get moved to winners, right?
Yeah, everyone's still going winners. So it would be then basically almost like stage 2 of the tournament, which is Saturday is its own brand new double elimination bracket, and everyone just kind of runs through to Sunday.
Yeah. So you can kind of think about there, like Friday really only matters in the sense if you are one of these open teams of to be one of those top 16.
Yeah.
Obviously, you want to be essentially top 12 if you think about it, because you don't have to do the play-in, and then you're A-okay. So as we look through the Open with some of these squads that are here, it's going to be very, very interesting. I think I saw somewhere we have like 80 teams through this Open.
Yeah, so I think 80, although a couple of team pass issues means we might get slightly less than that.
Yeah.
But something like that, which is slightly less than Birmingham. But I think in Europe we do only get like 1 event a year, so we show out for it.
Yeah, so I was trying to think, because if it's like, think loosely, round of 72, right, or what would be 32, 64. So you would have some play-ins probably, round of 64, round of 32, round of 16. So you'll have 3 rounds essentially. So kind of lower bracket doesn't.
Does it? I don't think it falls. Does it fall that quickly?
Yeah, usually it's half. Because you think like if you have all of your matchups, it's like half of your teams go to the bottom.
True, but it doesn't. So it's only half of the loser teams that we lose though. Remember? So I think you're right in the sense of like 64.
But I'm saying we get to a point in the bracket where there's 16 teams in winners bracket. So do they keep playing it through there's 8 in winners, 8 in losers?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
Friday's a long day.
Okay,
Friday's
good.
a very, very long day.
I'm glad it's that and not just, hey, we wait till we have 16 people in the winners side.
So, it will get to a point where there's the 8 teams still left in winners, 8 teams left in losers. The 8 teams and losers play their games.
Yep.
Those 4 that win those games are definitely through to Saturday.
Yeah.
Those 4 that lose are waiting to find out if they're still in because of the Pro-Am.
Cool. So yeah, basically,
one day we'll have a graphics package.
One day we'll have a good way to talk about this. But basically, yes, if you make top 8, you're good. No matter what, right? You'll continue on to the tournament no matter what. If you are bottom 8, you want to be one of those essentially top 4 of the bottom 8.
Yeah. To be honest, it's hard because you and me discussed this, and like as much as, and again, props to CDL for reactive community feedback. It's definitely a lot better, but also it's a case of it's hard because I've never seen this done before. Yeah. And it's like, how do you come up with a format here? If we are going to get more of these Pro-Ams, this is a V1. It's actually a really good, I guess it's V1.1 now, but like, it's like, we will see, I think, slight iterations, but honestly, I think that this is going to play out incredibly well because it suits lower end challenger teams, it suits mid-pack challenger teams because you're going to get reset if you get through to that point to the upper bracket on Saturday and like almost a second lifeline. Yeah. It suits the Pro-Am teams because they get an opportunity to kind of run back through a challenger bracket. And it suits the fans as well who want to see the challengers and pro teams mixed. It does a lot of work.
Yeah, no, and I think that's like the thing that I'm glad that they changed it to is that I do like that the Pro-Am teams basically have to earn their right essentially to play through. It's not like, it's not like, just because, think about like if you're Rock, it's like, not just because you won the Open and Major 1 that you now all of a sudden make it to Saturday. It's like, okay, at least having to have them play, be like, hey, obviously we're kind of giving you the best chance to make it through in the Open by playing one of the lower seeded teams in that losers bracket, but at least, it's not a guaranteed. So they still have to kind of earn their right to play in Saturday and move on. So to me though, what that means is that bracket, once we get to Saturday, is going to be really, really interesting, especially because we just talked about all of those teams. Because it's like, you might have been playing through that bracket and you might have been like, wow, all right, sick. You're like looking at it, you're like, great. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, now Project Notorious is now back in the bracket, and now Rock's back in the bracket, and Huntsman even, and Omit Noir, right? Because it's like, and I think that's what's scary to me is like any of those challenger teams that even if they don't make it out of the Pro-Am groups, they now have some insane warm-up reps to then go in. Like that's where it kind of gets fun, right? Because if you are an Omit Noir or you're a Huntsman who, in maybe the Pro-Am, we're like, maybe not. But if we're talking about them in the context of challengers, wow, those are very different teams in context. And now, Omit Noir just had to play Optic Texas and then Vancouver Surge, and they're going to be like, we have so much download and like warm up now and experience that we can go into the Open and just be like, we were just playing on stages and on stream, like we're gonna fry.
You do it. Like when you play a ranked game, sometimes you'll have one of those where it's incredibly close against an opposing team. It's back and forth and like tiny mistakes are punished and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You go into your next game, it's against a team plays that aren't necessarily bad, but like you just understand, wait, I'm operating at a much higher level because I've just had to be. So like hopefully, these teams do. And again, teams like, Omit Noir, DK and Ethan, they're very young. They're going to soak up that kind of stuff like a sponge. They've just, like you said, just had to play on main stage.
Yeah.
You are going to be under the lights. You get to now go and play on the challenger setups instead. It's like, it's almost going to be like a relief, if anything.
Well, you're going to play
so.
So free. You're going to be playing
I think
so
be
free
great.
at that point.
And again, they're going to be, on a I guess Omit Noir on a lot of pro points, but the way they're going to seed that bracket, you're going to get some pretty nice early matchups as well to get your challengers run off and started.
Yeah, so very excited. I mean, obviously, even just kind of just real quick before we wrap up the, even just looking about some of the teams in the Open as well. Like, just real quick. I know we talked about the Shrub team last week. They played through the Cup. They looked really good in the Cup. Admittedly, playing with Priesta instead of Wevy, right? Was it Wevy that had to start, or was it Skill?
Skill, I think.
Skill, yeah. He just turned 18, so he couldn't play the Cup. Play with Priesta. Number one, the fact that Priesta can still hang enough to help.
His tweet was funny, though.
To help push that team.
He was like, I'm exhausted. It's like, yeah, dude. Like, you take a minute out, you come back in, and your brain's like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, but I mean, at least it's like, I also think that's like kind of fun too, because like even Priesta being the coach of them, like kind of playing with them, he might have picked up on some stuff that maybe he didn't realize through like VOD review, and then now they're coming on in. They have Skill back in the swing of it. So now Priesta, that obviously, like, no offense, but like I think Skill is going to play at a different pace than Priesta entirely. Yes. So it's like, okay, that team now gets to play a little bit faster. Now they can play faster and more refined. They're going to be a threat, obviously, in that bracket. Bush is looking very, very good. Yep. Obviously, they win the Cup, whatever drama aside, they do win. Yeah. Results are results.
Yeah, there's nothing Bush could have done about that.
Yeah, exactly. So, but they looked really good. You have to put yourself in that position anyway to push it all the way to that map. And so, the Bush are looking great. And then, obviously, there's a number of other challenger teams that are also still looking good. And then, like with any Open, there could be the 4 rando challenger players who decided to sign up as a quad and all of a sudden might make some deep insane run. So very, very exciting. Obviously we're going to be casting all day on Friday.
Yep.
But if challengers is still going on Friday, we might swing over, just take a peek on some of the maps going on and things like that. But it's a great weekend of Call of Duty.
Yeah, no, it certainly is going to be incredible. Obviously you and me are then on Warzone Saturday, Sunday. Obviously that's not for this show, but it's going to be an incredible weekend all the way through. It's this again, it harkens back to like the older days of esports, all of this, where it's a case of we're going to go there, you've got Call of Duty, you've got the main stage, you've got the bright lights, you've got challenger setups, you've got the pit, you've got the passion, and obviously we're going to get the enhanced experience this time around with Warzone as well. So And then it's God, everything else that's going on in the bloody venue, so which we've got to head down to shortly. But yeah, it's I don't know, man. What a weekend that we have in front of us. Call of Duty looking great at the minute.
It's gonna be solid. Hopefully you enjoyed this in-person episode of This Week in Challengers. Like I said, it might be the only one we get to do this year, but hopefully you guys enjoy, give you all the download for DreamHack, everything Challengers, what you can come to expect here. So let us know in the comments. I know I asked last week, who do you think is making it out of groups? Let me know what teams in the Open are you most excited to go ahead and see perform, see play through. I think it's going to be a really fun weekend to be able to watch just, obviously Challengers in a whole on both the Pro-Am side, but also through the Open.